With the uncertainty surrounding the economy, the one thing that we can be certain of is that car wash owners and operators are looking for ways to bring more customers to their sites. One traditional way is through the use of direct mail campaigns. Though, according to the Direct Marketing Association, the average response rate for direct mail is only 2.6%. Not exactly what you're hoping for. However, the International Carwash Association hit the streets and found out that response rates to saturation mailers in the car wash industry are blowing that 2.6% rate out of the water, with responses as high as 12%. Stay tuned, the International Carwash Association is taking you to the cleaning edge.
Our return rate, taking our first full month of business without any indication from or any direct mail piece, we doubled our volume in the second full month. So in our case, it was a 16% return on the number of cards that went out. Well, in our case, because it was a new location, the decision we made was to make the offer free. And so free is bold on the postcard, and it's awfully hard for somebody to throw something away that's free.
Today we're going to talk a little bit about saturation mailers and promotions generally.
Right.
So we're standing now in back of your print shop?
We're in the back of a print shop, yes.
Okay. And when a client comes to you and they're interested in doing a promotional piece, what's the first question you ask them?
First question I ask them is, what are they trying to achieve with this piece? What's the goal? That from that point, we go to the next steps through design.
Okay. Now, in the promotional side of things generally, what would be a good redemption rate that when you tell a client, to expect what kind of redemption rate, percentage of pieces mailed? What's that?
If we're doing a mailing, a general good return for a mailing piece is in the 2 to 3% range.
What would you say if I told you that saturation mailers to car washes are returning 6 to 12%?
That's outstanding. A 5% return is outstanding. So anything above that, a 6 to 12, is really exceptional. Well, there's the design and the printing of the piece itself.
Yeah.
That's one of the big costs. Then there is the list procurement, how you want the list to be set up.
Who you want to send these things to.
Who you want to send it to, who you're targeting.
Okay.
And then lastly is your postage.
All right.
Those are the three main components.
Are all of these costs interrelated, or are they mutually exclusive?
The design you choose can affect your postage. So yes, there is some interconnectivity there.
Okay. So then the first thing you mentioned was design. What are some of the elements of design that somebody has to consider that affects cost?
Well, one is the size of your card. Okay. We have a couple samples here of these two postcards. This qualifies for a postcard by the postcard standards of the post office. This particular piece is a little bigger than this one, as you can see. This is rated as a postcard by the post office. This, though it's really a postcard, they consider it to be a letter. So there's a little higher rate for this. So the trade-off, obviously, is this one's a little smaller, but this one's got more real estate to it. We talk about the costs that impact these, and we did say one is size, and that size will impact your postage now down the road. But also the way it's made. This particular card, very attractive card. It's actually two colors. You look at it and you see different screens of different colors, and it's very, very well done, but it's really just red and blue. It's the same plate, blue plate with screens of it, and the same thing's true with the red plate. They're actually run on a sheet where one side of the sheet has this image, the other side of the sheet has this image, runs through once, let it dry, flip the sheet of paper over, run through again, and then you cut it out and it's done.
So it appears to be three colors, but you're seeing the white of the card stock. Right. And then different shades of the blue or the red.
Yes. Now, if you notice on the back, you do have the address that's imprinted on here, done in black, but that was done by the mailing equipment. Nothing to do with the printing of the card.
Now, this particular piece is a much more attractive piece generally.
True.
More expensive. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so now on this piece, what drives up its cost?
what drives up this cost. This is a gloss-coated stock. You have to use a special ink to imprint on here, or a label if you want to do that, but the labels tend to be a little more expensive. It's the 4-color process that's used. It's like a picture. CMYK color is used to make this, and that does tend to make it a little more expensive, plus it's a little bigger card.
So somebody wanting high impact would be willing to spend a little bit extra money to do this, a little bit higher impact.
Correct. You know, we're being bombarded by more and more color all the time, and you're seeing even bigger postcards than this in your mail at home, and they do that for, you know, shock
To be
and awe,
recognized,
essentially.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's size, it's also the thickness of the paper, and then it's the choice of colors.
The colors, the way it's put together, yes.
And then of course we have just the design cost in and of itself. So
Correct.
a company like yours has design services as well?
Yes, we do. We're the first and last step in printing, from the concept, the idea, the design, through the production, and then of course mailing. That's the last step.
And or you can take any step. So if I wanted to have a graphic artist
Sure.
provide to you a design, you can work with that as well.
Oftentimes, a client will either have their own in-house graphic design, they farm it out, buy it somewhere else, or they do it themselves, and they send us a file and we work with it.
So Tim, when we're determining who to send the mailer to, the first thing we do is we come to the map and you identify the location of the merchant, correct?
Correct.
So this green star represents your location.
That's my location.
And these gold stars gold circles represent some of your customers.
So my top customers, yes.
So if this were a car wash, you would identify that is the car wash. What's the first thing that you do once you identify, okay, this is where we are? How do you then start to generate the list?
Well, first thing you have to do is you have to know what zip code you're interested in, because that's how the lists are done. They're done by zip code. If you're in the middle of a zip code, obviously that's the one you want to focus on. If you're on the border between the 2 zip codes, you want to look at both of those as the starting point.
And then how far out do you go from your location?
Okay, generally most of my customers are within 3 to 5 miles of our location, which is pretty much my zip code, maybe the neighboring ones.
And so you'd consider that 3 to 5 mile radius the trade area, the
Absolutely.
area in which you do business.
Yeah, majority of it. Though we don't turn people away.
Oh,
but-
sure. But so then they're targeting like from their location, 3 to 5 mile trade area.
Yeah.
You look at how that corresponds to the zip codes.
Right.
And now, is there any other way to filter the list? Because if you did that, it would go to everybody, right?
Absolutely. There is. You know, you can get a great rate from the post office if you send it to every address in the zip code. Great rate, but you're going to be spending money on printing and postage, which is the major component, to people who are not necessarily going to buy from you.
So you may or may not want to do that.
Yeah, you may or may not. It all depends what is your goal. Back to the
Okay.
goal. What are you trying to do with the mailing? But most people will put in some constraints to try to limit that list a little bit. The most common ones are age of the recipient. You can do home ownership and income.
Does the merchant then own that list, or they have to buy that list every time?
No, they own that list.
They own that list.
Yeah.
So once they spend that money initially, if they were to do a follow-up piece, they could use the same list, they could own that list, whatever.
They can own that list. It's just when you get the list, you have to make it clear that you intend to use it for multiple mailings, which of course, with marketing, you want to be able to contact these people multiple times. And postage, that actually will be most of your cost through this. You know, the printing, I think the printing is a very economical part of it. But the post office will give you some great rates. Currently, as we talked today, a first-class postcard rate is 19.9 cents. And for anything that's sent out first class with this, you will get a return of your bad addresses, so you can fix it for the next mailing.
Fix
That's
your
a plus.
list, okay.
That is a plus from the post office. But with the walk sequence lists, which is your most economical way, and you have to use a letter for that, you know, you can get rates that are actually a little better than a postcard rate. But you will not get any bad addresses
Okay,
back.
now you said walk sequence list, walk being W-A-L-K.
W-A-L-K.
So
it
that's
is not.
actually the mail carrier walking. Tim, what would you say if I told you that I'm a car wash owner and I wanted to put out a 20,000 piece mailer, and that I did the design work, and I went and had it printed, and I went ahead and labeled them all myself, and then I took them over to the post office and I said, here, mail them, what would you say to me?
I'd say you're wasting a lot of time, money, and effort on that, because the post office will take those and they're going to charge you, depending on the size, it's going to be first-class postage. If it's over postcard size, 42 cents.
For 42 cents.
Yeah.
So how can you then help me save money as a car washer instead of me doing that work? How do you help me save money?
Well, the first thing is my company, I have my own postal permitter. It's called an indicia, which allows me to get automation rates from the post office. So I can get some great postal savings. Going with standard mail, what would be 42 cents, currently today is 22 and a half cents. So there's some savings on that.
Why can you get that rate?
I get that because I'm doing a lot of the work for the post office, which is I'm sorting it for them and putting it into trays by zip code or by other groups. They could be bundled into smaller groups as required by the post office.
So as we discussed earlier, if I took my 2 zip code areas that I want to send it to, and then I filtered it by additional demographic information, and you have a list now, you're going to take that list and you have the automation equipment to print the addresses correctly,
Right.
and then you also sort it according to the way the post office wants it.
However the post office wants it, and I'm able to put it in the trays, and I cut their cost down substantially, and that's why they can give it the postage at a much discounted rate.
So you actually, these are actually post office trays.
Correct.
So you're going to label these somehow here, and it'll be all bundled correctly, and you hand it, you bring it over there in your truck, and you deliver it to them ready to go to the mail carrier.
We take the list that we talked about based on the demographics. It goes through our sorting software, which is proprietary. It allows us to print all the certifications the post office requires to allow to get those discounts. A normal person off the street just doesn't have that ability to do cast certification and then the sorting. They're 2 different things. So we're able to do that and get some great rates on the pieces.
Okay, so now you told me an example earlier about an HVAC company that pulls everybody off
Yes.
their regular jobs and whatnot. So really, this is your core business, right?
Correct.
And so,
Yeah, well, the heating and air conditioning company that is local around here, what they do is twice a year, fall and spring, they will pull all their employees off of their normal duties they hired them to do, and they prepare 15,000 postcards for mailing. And they actually will print a label, and then they use a stamp. So there's two times they have to touch each one of them. It takes them about a week to do that. With our equipment, 15,000 postcards that already have a permit and printed on them, all we have to do is run them through the machine, a couple hours. One person does it, and we're done. And that's the big advantage to the client, is that all these employees are doing what you hired them to do. They're doing their core business, and you're not having to worry about, you're not paying them to do something that you don't want, that
Sure.
you didn't hire them to do.
hey, I should stick to what I do well, and you handle what you do well.
Absolutely, and we can help out.
Well, we know from talking to various people in the industry that the saturation mailer was some type of a promotion, and our data backs it up that a promotion gets people to come to the car wash, especially for new location. This is a great way to go. I think you've given us a lot of guidance on how to do it well and how to do it professionally, so we thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Jim.